Every Daedric artifact in the Elder Scrolls is forged from the substance of Oblivion itself, carrying the essence of the prince who created it. These aren't just powerful weapons, they're pieces of gods, and they've altered the course of Tamriel's history more times than anyone can count. Today, I'm breaking down every single one of them, starting with the one that shows how a gift from a god can become something horrifying. Azura's Star. Azura's Star is, on the surface, the most generous Daedric artifact ever created. It's a reusable Grand Soul Gem. That means it never breaks, never degrades, and never needs replacing. You trap a soul, use it for enchanting or recharging, and the star empties itself out, ready for the next one. Every other soul gem in the game shatters after a single use. This thing lasts forever. For enchanters, it's literally the most valuable object in existence. But here's where it gets interesting. The star doesn't even look the same across games. In Morrowind, it had sharp, angular edges with spiraling silver on black patterns. By Skyrim, it's softer, rounder, inlaid with lighter stones. And that's not a design oversight. Daedric artifacts canonically shift their appearance based on the will of their creator. Now, Azura herself occupies a strange position among the Daedric princes. The Dummer worship her as one of the three good Daedra. She's not some distant, uncaring god either. In Morrowind, she personally guides the Nerevarine through the entire main questline, leading them to the Cavern of the Incarnate to recover the Moon and Star Ring. She's hands-on in a way almost no other prince is, so her artifact should be pure, right? A clean, benevolent tool? Not exactly. A Dunmer sorcerer named Malin Varine figured out how to corrupt the star so it could accept black souls, the souls of sentient beings. And when you trap one of those inside a soul gem, that person doesn't just die. Their awareness gets ripped from their body and condemned to the soul cairn, a realm of eternal emptiness. No afterlife, no peace, just imprisonment forever. That's the tension at the heart of every Daedric artifact. Power that looks like a gift but always carries a cost. Even the good Daedra can't keep their creations from being twisted into something dark. But if you think a corrupted soul gem is unsettling, wait until you hear about the armor that poisons everyone around you just for wearing it. Ebony, male. Boethia is the Daedric prince of treachery, deceit, conspiracy, and betrayal. So why is his artifact a suit of armor and not a weapon? Because Boethia doesn't value brute force. He values manipulation. And a suit of armor that lets you move unseen while poisoning everyone around you is exactly the kind of gift a prince of conspiracy would create. But here's the thing, the ebony mail hasn't always worked this way. In Morrowind, the armor offered constant shielding plus resistance to both fire and magicka. Solid defensive enchantments, nothing sneaky about it. Fast forward to Skyrim, and the armor is completely different. Now it muffles your movement and radiates continuous poison damage to any hostile creature nearby, two entirely different sets of enchantments on the same artifact separated by roughly 200 years of in-game history. Elder Scrolls lore has never explicitly explained why. The leading theory is that Boethia reshapes the artifact's properties over time to suit his current champion and the changing needs of the world. And honestly, that tracks perfectly with who Boethia is. This is a prince who doesn't just embrace change, he forces it on entire civilizations. Let me explain. Boethia's single most consequential act in Elder Scrolls history was devouring the Aedri Trinimac. He literally consumed a god, and that act of betrayal corrupted Trinimac's faithful followers, transforming them into the Orsimer, the Orcs. One act of treachery created an entire race and erased a god from existence. Boethia also played a central role in reshaping the Chimere people, convincing them to abandon the Aldmer and follow new ways. The Chimere were later transformed into the Dunmer by Azura's curse, but it was Boethia who set them on that path in the first place. So, an artifact that fundamentally changes its own nature between eras. That's not a bug. That's Boethia's calling card. Now, the material itself carries serious lore weight. Ebony in the Elder Scrolls isn't just a fancy metal. It's the crystallized blood of Lorkhan, the missing god whose heart still beats beneath Red Mountain. The Dunmer consider themselves spiritually bound to Lorkhan through their own creation myth, which means wearing the ebony mail isn't just wearing Daedric armor, it's wearing the blood of a dead god, gifted by the prince who shaped your entire people. For the Dunmer, this artifact has layers of cultural and spiritual significance that most players walk right past. There's actually a solid community debate about whether the ebony mail even deserves to be called Boethia's primary artifact. Some fans argue that Goldbrand, the golden katana allegedly forged by dragons that resurfaced in Skyrim's Anniversary Edition, holds greater lore significance. It's a fair argument, but the ebony mail has appeared consistently across multiple eras, and its transformative nature mirrors Boethia himself in a way that a static weapon simply can't. But if you think an armor forged from divine blood is unsettling, wait until you hear about an artifact that manipulates everyone around you without them even knowing it. Mask of Clavicus Vile. Clavicus Vile is the used card car salesman of the Daedric princes. He's the prince of bargains, pacts, and wish fulfillment. And here's the thing, he never actually denies a wish, he just corrupts it. Every single deal he makes is designed so that the wisher gets exactly what they asked for, but in a form that ensures they're permanently indebted to him. It's genius, it's evil. And his signature artifact is the perfect example. The Maska's origin story is almost darkly funny. A noblewoman named Avalia had been hideously disfigured by a spiteful servant. She went to Clavicus Vile desperate to restore her social standing, expecting him to heal her face. He didn't. Instead, he gave her the mask, which left her appearance completely unchanged but made everyone around her instinctively respect and admire her. She got exactly what she asked for: social success, restored status, but she never got what she actually wanted, and now she owed a Daedric prince for the privilege. That's Clavicus Vile in a nutshell, the gift that keeps on taking. In Skyrim, the Maska gives you a 20% improvement in bartering prices, a 10-point speech boost, and 5% faster magicka regeneration. Useful bonuses, genuinely helpful for merchant builds. But notice how they're all just slightly underwhelming, never quite enough to feel powerful, never quite what you wanted. The game designers knew exactly what they were doing. The stats mirror the prince himself, but the real star of this quest isn't the mask. It's Barbas. Clavicus Vile's companion is a talking dog who happens to be a demigod carrying half of the prince's power. Barbas has genuine independent will, and he spends the entire quest warning you not to trust his master. The choice you face is straightforward. Return the rueful axe to Clavicus Vile and receive the mask, or kill Barbas to keep the axe. Barbas begs you not to listen to the prince. He argues against Vile's manipulation constantly, and yet he can never fully leave. He always comes back. It's codependency wrapped in a Daedric pack, and it's one of the most genuinely charming dynamics in the entire game. There's also a weird lore detail that the community loves debating. Avalia was the original wearer, but the mask has been worn by male characters throughout Elder Scrolls history. Does the artifact's psychological effect shift based on who's wearing it? Nobody knows for certain, and Bethesda has never clarified. Most players rank the mask lower for raw power, and honestly, that's fair. But they rank it high for narrative significance because its most dangerous property isn't in any stat block. It's the idea that you can wear someone else's bargain and never know the price. But if you think a manipulative helmet is dangerous, wait until you hear about a book that literally rewrites your brain. Ogrinami Infinium. Every other Daedric artifact on this list is designed to destroy something: a mace that drains souls, a dagger that kills instantly, a staff that turns people into sweet rolls. But Hermaeus Mora doesn't hand you a weapon, he hands you a book, and that book permanently rewires your brain. Here's the thing about Hermaeus Mora. He's the Daedric prince of forbidden knowledge, memory, and the accumulation of every knowable secret in existence. He doesn't care about combat or domination. He cares about knowing everything. And his artifact, the Ogma Infinium, also called the Tome of Power and the Librum of Knowledge, is the only Daedric artifact defined entirely by what it teaches rather than what it destroys. The book was created by Xerxes, a deity in the Aldmeri pantheon, who used knowledge granted to him by Hermaeus Mora to craft it. Xerxes is a god in his own right, not some mortal scribe, which makes the Ogma Infinium even more terrifying. It's divine knowledge filtered through forbidden knowledge. According to lore, the book contains secrets including potential glimpses of future events, which is why reading it doesn't just make you smarter. It permanently elevates your capabilities across entire disciplines of combat, magic, or stealth. In Skyrim, using the book grants 5 levels to each of the 6 skills within one of 3 paths. The combat path covers heavy armor, one-handed, smithing, two-handed, archery, and block. The Shadow Path handles light armor, speech, pickpocket, alchemy, sneak, and lockpicking. And the Magic Path boosts destruction, restoration, conjuration, illusion, alteration, and enchanting. One read, 30 skill levels across 6 skills, gone forever. But getting your hands on it is where things get interesting. The quest. Discerning the Transmundane requires you to gather blood from all 5 races of Mer: Orsimer, Bosmer, Dunmer, Altmer, and Falmer. Why? To approximate Dwemer blood, a race that vanished from existence thousands of years ago. The fact that Hermaeus Mora knows exactly how to reconstruct the blood of a dead civilization tells you everything about the depth of his knowledge. Nobody else in Tamriel could even attempt this. Now, let's talk about the exploit history, because this is where the Ogma Infinium goes from powerful to absolutely broken. Before patch 1.9, players discovered that you could place the book on a shelf without selecting a path, retrieve it, and read it again through the do not read prompt. Infinite uses, 30 skill levels every single time, but it gets worse. Players who who activated all 3 read inputs simultaneously could trigger all 3 skill paths at once, netting 5 levels to all 18 skills in a single use. That's 90 total skill levels from one book. That's not a book. That's a cheat code wearing a leather cover. These exploits have since been patched out of most versions, but the fact that they existed highlights just how absurdly powerful this artifact becomes when the game's own systems can't contain it. And Hermaeus Mora's influence doesn't stop with the Ogma Infinium. His growing prominence across the Elder Scrolls timeline culminates in Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, where his realm of Apocrypha becomes central to the plot involving the Skull people and the ancient dragon priest Miraak. The Black Book scattered throughout Apocrypha function almost identically to the Ogma Infinium, offering permanent character enhancements earned through trials within Mora's own dimension. The Prince of Forbidden Knowledge doesn't just give you one book. He has an entire library designed to reshape whoever reads it, but if a book that rewrites your abilities sounds dangerous, wait until you hear about a dagger that rewrites whether you're alive or dead. Mehrunes' Razor. Mehrunes' Razor has more names than most characters in this franchise. The Dagger of the Final Wounds, Bane of the Righteous, Kingslayer. Every single one of those names was earned through centuries of bloodshed across multiple eras of Tamriel's history. This is a weapon that doesn't just kill you. It metaphysically tears through the barrier between life and death, severing the connection between your soul and your mortal body. Its creator is Mehrunes Dagon, the Prince of Destruction, Change, Energy, and Ambition. So naturally, this blade has a reputation that precedes it by about 1,000 years. Here's the thing though, before we get into why this weapon is simultaneously legendary and disappointing, let's talk about what you actually have to do to get it, because the quest is genuinely one of the better ones in Skyrim. By the time the Dragonborn finds it, the razor has been shattered into 3 separate pieces, each guarded by different people across Skyrim. The whole quest kicks off at the Mythic Dawn Museum, owned by a man named Silas Vesuvius, who is way too enthusiastic about a doomsday cult. Once you collect all 3 pieces, Mehrunes Dagon himself makes a demand: kill Silas. Prove you're worthy of wielding the restored razor. And this is where it gets interesting, because if you refuse, Silas takes the completed dagger and seals it inside a display case that you literally cannot open, ever. The artifact is gone, permanently locked away because you showed mercy. Mehrunes Dagon does not do mercy, but let's say you make the kill. You get the razor. You're holding one of the most feared weapons in Tamriel's entire history, a blade that has toppled kings and ended wars, and it has a 1.98% chance of actually doing its thing. The legendary instant death effect that defines this weapon, the entire reason it's called the Dagger of the Final Wounds, triggers roughly once every 50 swings. 98 times out of 100, you're just poking someone with a regular dagger. The most feared blade on the continent connects on its signature ability less than 2% of the time. It gets better. Even when that 1.98% does trigger, certain enemies are completely immune. Karstag, for example, simply cannot be instantly killed by the razor. Apparently, even a metaphysical soul-severing dagger has hard limits when the target is a giant ice monster with enough health to tank a small army. Now, to be fair, this weapon has serious history. After the Oblivion Crisis, a group called the Keepers of the Razor split it into 3 pieces specifically to prevent any single person from wielding it. People formed an entire organization just to keep it disassembled. That's how dangerous this thing was considered. The community consensus is blunt. Mehrunes' razor has lore that could fill an entire video on its own. Kings have fallen to this blade. Empires have trembled at its name. But in practice, a well-crafted two-handed weapon will outperform it in sustained combat every single time. The razor's average strike is just a dagger strike. Its legendary strike happens once in a blue moon. It's the ultimate gap between myth and reality. A weapon so feared that an entire faction was created to keep it apart, and yet statistically, you'd be better off with a sword you smith yourself. But if you think a 2% kill chance is unsettling, wait until you hear about a mace designed to dominate souls, corrupt the living, and spread vampirism across an entire continent. Mace of Molag. Ball. Most Daedric princes want to destroy you, trick you, or drive you insane. Molag Bal wants something worse. He wants to own you, completely, forever. Molag Bal is the Daedric prince of domination, enslavement, and corruption. His entire sphere isn't about causing destruction for its own sake. It's about subjugation, breaking someone's will until they serve you without question, and his primary artifact, the Mace of Molag Bal, is the perfect physical extension of that philosophy, because this weapon wasn't designed to kill, it was designed to control. In Skyrim, the mace deals 25 points of magicka damage and 25 points of stamina damage per hit, while simultaneously casting Soul Trap on struck enemies. 3 separate combat effects layered into a single weapon, and every single one is oriented towards stripping a target of their autonomy. You drain their magical energy, you drain their physical energy, and then you imprison their soul inside a gem. The target doesn't just die, they become property. But here's where it gets really dark. The quest to obtain this weapon is one of the most disturbing in the entire franchise. You walk into an abandoned house in Markarth alongside a vigilant of Stendarr named Tyrannus, and Molag Bal forces a confrontation. One of you has to kill the other. No speech check, no clever workaround. You beat Tyrannus to death, and only then does Molag Bal reveal himself, and he's still not done. He sends you to capture a priest of Boethia named Logrolf the Willful, drag him back to the house, and force him to pledge his soul to Molag Bal. You strap Logrolf to a pillar, you beat him with the mace until he submits, then you kill him with it. The weapon isn't earned through heroics, it's earned through domination. You become Molag Bal's agent of corruption, and the mace is your reward for proving you're willing to do exactly what he does. The most significant detail about Molag Bal extends far beyond any single weapon. He is the direct origin of vampirism in Tamriel. Pure-blooded vampires obtained the curse through direct ritual contact with Molag Bal himself. Female vampires who underwent this process were granted the title Daughters of Cold Harbor. The implications of what that ritual involved are genuinely disturbing, and the lore doesn't shy away from it. Every soul trapped by the mace becomes a new servant of the prince. The weapon is an extension of the same corruption process that created vampirism itself. Here's the thing, the mace's enchantments have shifted across games, but the philosophy behind them has never changed. In Oblivion, it drained strength and magicka. In Skyrim, it swaps strength for stamina drain and adds soul trap. The specific effects evolve, but the intent stays locked in. Every version of this weapon is built to strip something from you. Molag Bal doesn't change his methods, control, enslave, repeat. The mace just adapts the tools. Now, practically speaking, the community is divided. Stamina-focused warriors gain almost nothing from draining enemy stamina, and the soul trap enchantment requires constant soul gem management that gets tedious fast. Some players swear by the mace for its raw damage and triple enchantment value. Others argue its symbolic weight far outweighs its actual combat utility. Where Clavicus Vile deceives you with charm, Molag Bal doesn't bother with subtlety. He breaks you directly. And his mace is built to do exactly that. But if the mace of Molag Bal represents the darkest form of power in Tamriel, the next artifact represents something entirely different. A tool that doesn't dominate, doesn't destroy, and doesn't corrupt. It just opens every single door that was ever locked. Skeleton Key. Nocturnal is the Daedric Prince of Night, Darkness, Mystery, Luck, and the patron of every thief who ever lived. Her entire sphere is built on two ideas: concealment and access. Hide what shouldn't be found. Open what shouldn't be opened. And that philosophy makes the Skeleton Key the most coherent artifact on this entire list. It doesn't burn, it doesn't corrupt, it doesn't kill, it opens. On the surface, the Skeleton Key is an unbreakable lockpick that can open any lock on Mundus. Physical locks, magical seals, it doesn't matter. The key bypasses all of them. But here's where it gets interesting. According to deeper lore, the Skeleton Key doesn't just open doors and chests, it can unlock portals to hidden realms, access secrets unknown even to most Daedra, and open pathways to potential that mortals cannot otherwise reach. Let me explain what that actually means, because this is the single most mythologically grand claim made about any artifact we've covered. The Skeleton Key allegedly unlocks the barriers within yourself, not metaphorically. The lore treats this as a literal function of the artifact. Wielding it allows you to tap into hidden potential, bypass your own limitations, and succeed where you otherwise would have failed. Every thief in the Thieves Guild operates under Nocturnal's influence. Her Nightingale agents serve as the enforcers of that relationship. And the Skeleton Key is the physical anchor holding all of it together. Nocturnal doesn't just bless thieves, she controls their luck. And this artifact is how. Now, the key has also done something that almost no other Daedric artifact has pulled off. It has dramatically changed its physical form across eras. In Morrowind and Oblivion during the Third Era, the Skeleton Key appeared as a lockpick. Just a lockpick. By Skyrim, set in the Fourth Era, it had transformed into a distinctly key-shaped object. Completely different design. The function stayed the same, but the container for that function did not. Even the fundamental shape of Nocturnal's greatest gift resists permanence. The Prince of Mystery won't even let her own artifacts stay recognizable. But here's the kicker, and this is what makes the Skeleton Key genuinely unique among every Daedric artifact in Elder Scrolls history. You can't keep it. Completing the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim requires you to return the Skeleton Key to Nocturnal as part of the Nightingale Oath. It is the only major Daedric artifact in the series that is designed to be given back. Every other artifact on this list, you earn it, you keep it. The Skeleton Key says no. You held it, you used it, now return it. This has generated real debate in the community, and honestly, it's the most philosophically interesting question any artifact on this list raises. Can you truly possess something that was always meant to be returned? Is it yours if the terms of acquisition include giving it up. Some players argue the forced return makes it less valuable. Others argue it makes it more significant because the sacrifice of returning it is part of what earns you Nocturnal's full blessing. And the community division maps perfectly onto playstyle. Stealth and thief builds rank the skeleton key extraordinarily highly. Having an unbreakable lockpick changes your entire gameplay loop. You never fail a lock again, ever. Combat builds look at it and see a convenience item with 0 combat applications. No damage, no enchantment, no armor rating, just locks. But that disagreement reveals something deeper. The real argument isn't about the skeleton key at all. It's about what defines an artifact's true power. Is it mechanical combat output, or is it lore-based metaphysical significance? Because if unlocking your hidden potential and accessing secrets beyond Daedric comprehension counts for anything, the skeleton key might be the most powerful artifact in the entire Elder Scrolls universe. It just doesn't swing like a sword. And if you think a key that unlocks reality itself is strange, wait until you hear about a staff that breaks reality entirely. Wabbajack. Every other artifact on this list has a job. The ebony mail sneaks, the mace dominates, the razor kills. They all reflect their creator's sphere with precision and purpose. The Wabbajack doesn't do any of that. It doesn't drain stamina. It doesn't unlock secrets. It doesn't trap souls. It does something different every single time you use it, because Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness, Chaos, Humor, and Unpredictability, didn't design a weapon. He designed a punchline. The Wabbajack is a staff that produces completely random magical effects on whatever you point it at. And I mean completely random. One hit might instantly kill your target, the next might fully heal them, the one after that might turn a bandit chief into a sweet roll, an actual sweet roll, that you can pick up and eat. You could be fighting a Draugr Deathlord and accidentally summon a hostile Dremora that decides you're the bigger problem. You could paralyze a dragon or make a giant invisible. Every single charge is a coin flip between winning the fight and making it 10 times worse. And the full list of possible effects in Skyrim is genuinely absurd. Invisibility, summoning enemy Dremora, ice spike, instant death, fury, fear, drain stamina, paralyze, absorb health, transformation into various creatures, explosions of cheese, showers of gold coins. That's dozens of completely different outcomes, and you have 0 control over which one you get. Using the Wabbajack in a serious fight is as much a liability as it is an asset, and that's entirely the point. Here's where it gets interesting though. The one context where the Wabbajack becomes predictably powerful is against large targets, dragons, giants, mammoths. Against creatures that big, the staff almost consistently produces explosion effects that deal substantial damage. The chaos becomes reliable the moment the target is big enough to absorb it. It's like Sheogorath built in a loophole specifically to mess with people who thought they had the staff figured out. And then there's the design itself. The staff's head features 3 faces representing Sheogorath's shifting moods and temperamental nature. The artifact literally wears multiple expressions. That's either the most on-brand design choice in all of Elder Scrolls or the most unsettling, depending on how long you stare at it. But the moment the Wabbajack became truly terrifying was when players discovered that combining it with the Secret of Arcana Per created an overpowered combination capable of killing virtually any enemy in the game. For a brief window, Sheogorath's chaos accidentally became the most reliable destruction tool in Skyrim. The most unpredictable artifact in the franchise became the most consistent, and if that isn't the most Sheogorath thing that's ever happened, nothing is. Here's the thing that makes the Wabbajack the perfect artifact to end on. Every entry before this one has been about power with intention, domination, corruption, forbidden knowledge, stealth, instant death. Every prince designed their artifact to do exactly what they wanted it to do. Sheogorath designed his to do whatever it feels like. The Wabbajack is the only Daedric artifact whose power is the absence of a plan. It makes no promises. It offers no guarantees. It doesn't try to corrupt you or enslave you or trick you into a bargain you'll regret. And that might make it the most honest Daedric artifact of all. Every other prince hides their agenda behind a gift. Sheogorath's agenda is that there is no agenda. What you see is what you get. You just have no idea what you're going to get. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.